Hello and welcome to Unacademy, a one-stop destination for the English medium civil services aspirants. Today I'm here with you live to address one of your pressing demand. Many students have been writing to me ever since the prelims examination was conducted and the prelims results were announced. Those who are preparing for 2026, those who are restarting their preparation, those who are just beginning their preparation, they've all been writing to me asking for a detailed study plan, a timetable, a year long timetable, which they can follow religiously. So, that is the purpose of this session to address that demand by providing you a detailed study plan for the next 350 odd days. You still have roughly 12 months to go. So, what can you do during this period to ensure that you prepare in the most effective manner to clear the exam in your first attempt? Or if you're repeating it, you should ensure that this has to be your last attempt and give it your best shot. So, how can you do this? Many students ask for a month by month plan, a day to day plan. So, I thought, let me address this demand. Let me connect with the students for a short while. And if you stay with me for the next 45 to 50 minutes, we will discuss not just the year long plan, but I will give you a detailed monthly breakup along with a suggestion for a day to day timetable that you can use in your preparation. At the end of the session, I'll take your doubts and questions as well. So stay with me for the next 45 to 50 minutes. So, first, let's start with the basics. How do you prepare for UPSC Civil Services exam? Many students find this exam to be extremely challenging. They consider this to be the toughest exam, which is true to some extent. But however, with the right strategy, the right approach, anybody should be able to crack this exam with the right effort. The first thing to do when you start preparing for civil services is to understand what to read and what not to read. Because given the number of subjects that we have in general studies, your optional paper, CSAT, and the vastness of each subject, many students find it challenging to understand what to cover for this exam. Since the exam has three different rounds, prelims, mains, and personality test, many students get confused regarding how to categorize their preparation, how to prepare for these different stages, what to read and what not to read. So, to understand this, you need to look at two sacred documents which are given by UPSC: the syllabus, which is issued along with the notification, the prelims and main syllabus. The prelim syllabus is not very detailed, it doesn't tell you much as to what to read. But the main syllabus given by UPSC is very detailed. It lists out not just the subjects, but even the topics and subtopics in great detail. So, looking at the syllabus for both prelims and mains will give you a basic idea as to what to read for this exam. Then, if you look at PYQs, the previous question papers of the last, let's say, 10 to 12 years, at least from 2013, because that's when UPSC introduced the new format of this exam. If you're able to go through all the previous questions for prelims and mains, you will be able to understand the type of questions, the format of questions that are being asked. You'll be able to spot the trends and how current affairs has been inspiring static concept based questions. So, carrying out this assessment is very essential as you start preparing for this exam. One, take a detailed look at your syllabus and thoroughly analyze the previous question papers of your prelims and mains. So, by doing this, you will understand what not to read as well. You will be able to set a boundary for your preparation and you can ensure that you remain focused within this set boundary. Instead of being distracted by trying to master each and every subject, you can try to develop a specialization in every field, in every subject that is needed for the exam, only to the extent that is necessary to clear this exam. Because please remember, you're not here to become a master of all these subjects. This is a competitive exam at the end of the day. You're here to realize your dream, to be in the top 100, the top 50, to get your dream service. It could be IAS, IPS, IFS, right? So you have to put in the right effort, the right amount of um, focus should be there on different parts of the syllabus. So you can do that only when you understand what to read and what not to read. So once you do this, there are 7 important areas that an aspirant should focus upon. See, I've been teaching civil services aspirants for the last 11 years. Based on my experience, I can tell you with confidence that if you're able to follow these 7 steps religiously, do justice to these 7 areas that are needed for this exam to clear the exam, trust me, nobody can stop you from realizing your IAS dream. The first and foremost is general studies, which is GS 1, 2, 3, and 4. The 4 GS papers, which are primarily mains oriented. Then current affairs, because static portion is heavily influenced by the dynamic portion of current affairs. And I can say the same for prelims. Many students make a big mistake of categorizing prelims and mains separately. When they are studying GS subjects like polity or let's say geography or international relations, what they do is they try to look at the subject from prelims perspective, mains perspective. They try to distinguish these topics as well, which is honestly a wasteful effort. When you're preparing for these core subjects, focus on them comprehensively. Attack these subjects holistically so that you cover everything, be it from prelims or mains perspective. Let's say you're reading about the Gaza conflict. Why do you want to read only the prelims points related to the Gaza conflict separately and then read about the mains related topics with regard to the Gaza conflict? Instead, make it a comprehensive, holistic preparation so that be it for prelims, mains, or your personality test, any question on that topic, you should be able to answer that. Because UPSC doesn't draw a hard distinction between the prelims and main syllabus as such. So most of the topics are in common. Of course, there are few subjects which are exclusive for mains, but in general, if you look at the common subjects, the common areas, it's always better to approach them holistically. So focus on your GS papers 1, 2, 3, 4, right? We will discuss how you can approach them, how you can break down this into a monthly plan, and try and include current affairs as a part of your preparation on a regular daily basis. Because if you have seen question papers of the previous years, you will notice that be it in prelims or mains, current affairs has been playing a pivotal role in every exam. A number of questions, up to 60-70% of your questions, will be directly influenced by current events and current developments. So you cannot clear this exam without covering current affairs consistently. So you need to dedicate ample amount of time for your static subjects, especially the core subjects like polity, geography, history, economy, and even the other smaller subjects like environment ecology, international relations, even disaster management, internal security, governance, and the others. Focus heavily on your essay paper, your ethics paper as well, because these papers make a big difference eventually in the final score that you're going to get. And you have to provide adequate attention to your optional throughout your preparation, throughout the 12 to 15 months that you're going to dedicate for this exam. There has to be adequate focus on your optional preparation as well. Many students make a big mistake. They neglect the optional till the last minute. They focus heavily on GS, current affairs, but eventually they would not have given enough time for their optional preparation. So, right from now, starting from day one, you have to allocate adequate time for all these areas. For your GS, for your current affairs, that includes ethics and essay, and your optional. There has to be adequate allocation of time. Guys, trust me, this exam, clearing this exam is all about time management. If you can pay adequate attention to all these areas and do this consistently over a period of time, over 350 to 400 days, you will be in a position to crack this exam. Now, apart from these common areas, then you have CSAT, which deserves your attention because many students have often found CSAT to be very difficult and challenging. If you have seen the recent results, I've received some very unfortunate, disturbing messages. A lot of students, they have scored easily above 9500, which means they were very much in a position to clear the prelims, but they have not cleared prelims just because of their CSAT score, just because they couldn't get the bare minimum marks. So you have to ensure that you're not in that position next year. It's not only important to score well in GS1 and be above the cutoff, always aim for 100 plus in your paper one, which is possible, and ensure that you get the bare minimum in CSAT. Aim for at least 90 to 100 marks in CSAT so that you will end up clearing the minimum marks of 67. So CSAT deserves some attention as well. This is something you have to inculcate into your study plan. Now, apart from covering these subjects, it's not just important to cover the syllabus and finish all these subjects. You should also dedicate enough time for practice, for revision. You need to take up sufficient mock tests for both prelims and mains. More importantly, you have to develop answer writing skills, which is very essential for the mains exam as it is a descriptive round. Unlike prelims, which is based on MCQs, which is largely objective, mains exam is descriptive, where you write descriptive answers, essay type answers. So your ability to express your viewpoints, your bring out your knowledge, the intellectual depth you have in these topics is what will determine your score. Now, answer writing is not a skill that you develop overnight, or usually people are not born with good writing skills. This is a skill which has to be developed. Answer writing is an art which comes only with consistent practice and effort. So, when we make a timetable, a detailed study plan for the next year, we have to allocate sufficient time for answer writing practice. There should be sufficient focus on taking mock tests and, more importantly, periodic and regular revision of what you're studying. Many students ask me the same question every time. Sir, I've read everything, but I'm not remembering. I'm not able to recollect. I just finished this subject, but if you ask me a question, I'm clueless because I don't remember. I have forgotten. If you have to overcome this problem, the only way is to revise the same subject again and again and again. Multiple revisions are needed, and you have to incorporate this into your timetable. As I told you, clearing this exam is all about time management. If you don't plan your time accordingly, if you don't make a year long plan and a month by month breakup with a day to day schedule, you will not be able to do justice to these 7 areas. So, that is exactly what we are here to discuss today. Now, before we discuss what can be the monthly breakup and the overall timetable, I have a very important announcement. Those of you who are planning to prepare for 2026 and beyond, you have a golden opportunity to enroll for Unacademy's online course at one of the lowest prices ever. At just 17,999, you will be able to access 12 months of subscription with up to 12 months of additional extension. So this will give you access to all the live lectures by our top educators. And also you'll get access to the recorded classes as well. So you can cover the syllabus at the pace that you're comfortable with. It'll also give you access to study material, the test series, mentorship, and doubt resolution sessions as well. So this offer is limited time offer. It's going to end in another 72 hours. The countdown has begun. So all you have to do is to avail this offer. You have to enter the code IAS English. On the subscription page, you might see a different amount, a different price. But once you enter the code IAS English, you will be able to avail a 12-month subscription at just 17,999 with all the added benefits. So those interested can click on the link provided in the video description below. Now let's bring our focus back and let's focus on the business at our hand, the agenda that we are here for today. Let me first list out a broad year-long plan for you guys. Now, this is something that you have to pay attention to. Take screenshots if possible, make a note, or you can join my Telegram channel where I will try to share this PDF later. So please make a note of this. What should be your plan for the next 350 days? Or I would say, even for the next 500 days, 350 to 500 days, what should be your plan? Because starting from now, by the time you take up prelims, it is roughly close to 1 year, right? A little less than 1 year. By the time you take up mains next year, it would be close to around 15 months, 15 to 16 months. So what should be your overall plan for these days? If you don't have a long-term plan and if you don't break it down into monthly, daily timetable, you will not be able to cover the syllabus. You will not be able to accommodate current affairs, answer writing practice, and revisions and mock tests. So how do you do this? I know it sounds very challenging, right? When you look at these 7 areas which I just listed, it appears to be very overwhelming. right? Especially beginners, even students who are repeating their attempt, they get overwhelmed with the way in which they have to prepare, especially those who have not managed to clear prelims, right? They would have gone through dejection as well. That's where I advise the students, this is not the time for you to feel dejected. You have to pick yourself up, ask yourself what went wrong, introspect, identify the weak areas, identify where you can improve, right? And try to implement that. And if you have to do that, you need a solid plan for the next 12 to 15 months. So I would like to give you a suggestion. This is something you can implement, you can follow, right? You can adopt this with some changes which is needed for your personalized context. So I'm giving you a broad plan first. I would like you guys to follow this approach and break down your preparation for the next 15 months into four different stages, four distinct stages. Stage one, which will be prelims come mains preparation, which is for the next 6 months, starting from June to December 2025. I'm assuming that you guys have not wasted the last 2 weeks, that you're studying for the last 12 to 14 days as well, focused on your next attempt. So, for the next 6 months, what can you do? What should be your goal? What should be your focus? The next 6 months is absolutely crucial to build the much needed foundation across GS, CSAT, current affairs, and optional. For all these subjects, this is the right time to build a solid foundation, and you need a proper plan for the next 6 months so that you can try to cover at least 70 to 80% of the syllabus. This has to be goal number one. Again, if you ask me, sir, should I study for prelims? Should I study only for mains? Please forget this entirely. Don't make a distinction between prelims and mains right now. When you're starting your preparation, focus on a holistic preparation plan, because most of the topics and subjects which are relevant for prelims, they remain relevant for mains as well. Yeah. Yes, there might be few exclusive subjects for mains, but eventually, if you look at the topics, whatever you read for prelims will be relevant for mains. That same would be relevant for your personality test as well. So, as a beginner, even as a repeater, when you're starting your preparation again from scratch, please don't make a distinction. You will end up making a big mistake. Approach every subject, every topic holistically. Think, think of it this way. Whatever question comes from the topic, a prelims MCQ or a mains question or an essay topic, right? Or a related ethics case study, or maybe questions in your optional paper or an interview question on the same topic, you should be able to answer all of them. That should be your goal, to develop that depth on every topic. So whatever question comes, you should be able to answer that. So for the next 6 months, your preparation should be prelims come mains oriented, with the goal of covering at least 70 to 80% of the total syllabus in the next 6 months. This is where you are going to build your foundation across subjects. So wait for some time. I will provide a breakdown for this. What you can do in June, what you can do in July. Every month, I will provide a month by month breakdown. Once you finish the first stage, as we enter the next year, right? By February, we'll have the notification issued by UPSC. So from Jan to March, I want you to shift your preparation to the second stage, where you focus primarily on prelims. Majority of your focus and attention will be on prelims, with maybe some focus on mains as well. So you shift your preparation strategy to become more prelim centric during this period, where you attempt to cover the entire syllabus, especially 100% of the prelim syllabus should get completed during this period. Again, I will give you a month by month plan. I'll break it down. What exactly you can do is something we are going to discuss in a short while. Then, as the prelims exam approaches, as it gets closer, the last 2 months is very crucial, April and May. This is where you shift to 100% prelims only preparation. And here you go for multiple revisions, multiple rounds of revisions. So you can revise all these subjects, practice as many mock tests and test papers so that you're fully prepared for the final battle, which will be your prelims exam. Once your prelims exam is over, a short break maybe of 2 to 3 days just to rejuvenate and refresh yourselves. And see, I want you to ensure that when you come out of the exam hall after giving the prelims, then and there you should feel confident that I'm going to make it to the mains exam. That should be the level of your preparation. There should not be a doubt in your mind. You need not even come back home and check the answer keys given by various institutions. You should know it in your heart that I've given my best, that I'm going to get at least 100 above. In paper one, I'll get the minimum in CSAT. That confidence is something that should be present when you walk out of the exam hall on the day of your prelims. So think of this, think about this, envision this, try to manifest this vision, because the power of manifestation is extremely strong. When you can manifest this vision, you will be driven to achieve that. That next year, May, when I walk out of the exam hall on the day of prelims, I should know in my heart that I'm going to clear the exam. I should get started with my mains preparation from tomorrow itself. So once you're done with that, your focus will, of course, shift towards complete mains oriented preparation for the next 3 months, June to August, where we focus on all the subjects essentially, especially more on optional, the main specific subjects and answer writing in particular. So now let us discuss the month by month plan. Now that you know the broad year long agenda, you know what you're going to do for the next 6 months. Then you know what you will do from Jan to March 2026, April to May 2026, and after your prelims, what should be your focus and approach. Now let's get down to the details. Let's break this down and come out with a timetable which you guys can try to implement on your own. Of course, what I'm discussing is a general timetable which you guys can implement. But if you want any changes, you can make those changes depending on your personalized context and circumstances. So let's start with the first stage, prelims come mains, which is what you'll be following for the next 6 months. The goal being completion of 70 to 80% of your syllabus. So how can you achieve this? Now, please ensure every month you focus on at least one major GS subject. You can club it with maybe one minor GS subject with adequate focus on current affairs and optional as well. This is how you need to plan your month. Let's say the month of June, the next month of July. You need to set a target, a predefined target before you even enter that month. Okay, this month I'll be trying to complete almost 80 to 90% of one major GS subject. I would try to complete around 80% of maybe one minor GS subject along with it so that it doesn't become monotonous, right? Your interest will remain higher when you're reading two different GS subjects parallelly in a day. Some time for current affairs on a daily basis. You can't compromise on this. Don't rely on weekly summaries or monthly magazines. Honestly, trust me, they are overrated. Just a weekly summary or a monthly magazine will not help you cover current affairs holistically. Make it a daily habit. Allocate sufficient time. I'll tell you how much time you should give for current affairs on a day-to-day basis when we come to the day-to-day plan. Ensure that you do this consistently on a regular basis. This has to be a part and parcel of your preparation, right? Even if, let's say, someday you didn't study anything, let's say you didn't feel well, you were sick, or there was a very important family event you had to attend. Even on those days, even when you can't touch GS or optional, you still have to cover current affairs at least. So current affairs is something you shouldn't compromise for the next 350 to 500 days. That is something you have to keep in mind. And adequate time for optional as well for the next 6 months. This is the right time to build that foundation, because don't forget, optional subject is of honors level, which means the difficulty level, the standard is between your undergraduation and post-graduation. That's what UPSC is expecting. But if you look at the question papers of optional, a lot of questions are PG level, sometimes slightly above PG level as well, because UPSC is highly unpredictable. Whereas GS requires a common man's understanding. That's what UPSC says. But again, if you look at the question papers, the questions in GS as well requires a slightly in-depth understanding of these topics. So this is the right time to focus on your core concepts. Build that static foundation along with regular current affairs preparation. Yeah. So what you can do, start with a big subject like, let's say, polity, combine it with maybe one smaller subject like IR. So this is just for illustration. It's a general plan. You can change this as well. Maybe you can start with geography and try to club it with environment ecology, because they go together. They go hand in hand. It keeps the preparation interesting as well. You'll not get bored of the same subject, and you can try to mix and match. So this is the priority as well that you should follow, the same order in which I have given. Maximum priority for the big GS subject, slightly lesser priority for the second GS subject, some priority for optional in that particular month, then current affairs, and maybe you can try to include PYQs for the first couple of months of your preparation. This is something which is very practical, it's feasible. This is something which is achievable. And always focus on the big four subjects, the core subjects as we call it: polity, geography, history, and economy. And particularly in history, modern history. Give your maximum focus and attention for the next 4 months on these big four subjects, the core subjects: polity, history, geography, and economy. This will cumulatively give you close to 60 questions in your prelims. These four big subjects combined will easily account for at least 50 to 60 questions. So just by answering these questions, you will be in a solid position to clear the exam. This is where your maximum focus should be for the first 4 months from June to September, where you allot a higher amount of time for the big GS subject, some time for a minor subject as well, some time for optional, and maybe at least 1 hour every day, 1 to 1.5 hours for current affairs, along with PYQs for the first 2 months. Now, I would not recommend you to start answer writing immediately, because to write answers, Bain's answers, to practice answer writing, first you have to complete some part of your syllabus. At least 20-25% of your syllabus should be covered. Only then you can pick up answer writing, right? Or else there is no point. If you haven't even covered a part of your subject, or at least a part of your syllabus, what's the point in writing answers? You can't copy from a book. You can't research on the internet, or you can't use ChatGPT to write your answers. That will not help you. So first try to complete some of your syllabus. And along with that, first 2 months, keep looking at PYQs. Make it a regular habit. Every day, maybe assign some 15 minutes, or weekly, you can set aside 1 hour to look at some PYQs of prelims and mains. Try to answer some PYQs as well. So you know what kind of questions have been coming. What's the trend? How to uh, identify the questions which are easy, questions which are difficult, questions which have to be left, and where you have to take a calculated guess. That is something you have to inculcate by looking at PYQs. So do that as a exercise on a day-to-day basis or weekly basis, but ensure that maximum focus is on your big GS subject, some focus on the smaller GS subject, and focus on your optional as well. And current affairs, as I told you, has to be a day-to-day thing. It is something which is going to be a bread and butter of your preparation. It's going to be a part of your preparation for the next 1.5 years. That's something you have to keep in mind. Then slowly you can pick up answer writing on a regular basis. You don't have to write full length question papers, right? That's not possible as well. Start with a daily habit of answer writing. After 2 months of your preparation, include maybe 15 minutes of time in your day. Pick two questions from what you've read in that day. Let's say you read one GS subject, you read optional, you read current affairs. Pick one question from 2 or 3 areas, assign 15 to 20 minutes, sit as if you're sitting in the exam hall and try to write answers at the end of the day, right before you go to bed. So inculcate this habit and start answer writing regularly. Follow this throughout the first phase from, I would say, August to December. From August to December, every single day without fail, try to write 2 answers at least, or 3 answers if possible. Roughly each question will take around 7.5 minutes. That's the time you'll get in the exam as well. For 10-mark questions, maybe you'll get around 6.5 minutes. For 15-mark questions, you'll roughly get around 9.5 minutes. So on an average, I'm saying 7.5 minutes per question. Let's say you take 2 questions, 15 minutes per day. Or 3 questions, let's say you take 25 minutes. It's still okay. So sit right before you go to bed. From morning, whatever you have studied, from GS, from optional, from current affairs, pick 1 or 2 questions. Pick maybe one from PYQ as well. Write answers to it and make it a regular habit. Initially, your answers will be very bad. I'm telling you. As I told you, nobody is born naturally with good writing skills. It's an art, it's a skill that you develop over a period of time. Get your answers reviewed by your teachers, your mentors, your friends who are preparing along with you, or your seniors who might have given the exam. Get some feedback from them once in a while. The feedback will help you understand how you can frame the answers better, how you can structure them better. And do this for 90 days. Do this for 120 days. And trust me, you will thank me later. Give it 4 to 5 months of consistent practice. Automatically, your writing skills, the way you structure your answer, will start improving. And also, the more you read current affairs, especially if you read newspapers regularly on a daily basis, if you're reading editorials and columns, your ability to write these essay type answers will improve because you will learn from the writers who are writing these columns. You will start learning from the structure they are following, the flow of thought, the logical flow of thought that they maintain in the articles is something you'll start imbibing, and you will inculcate that in your answers as well. So this is something that will take a lot of practice. Minimum 90 to 120 days of consistent effort at answer writing. 2 questions per day, I think, is definitely possible. Just 15 minutes. So please do this favor to yourself, right? You're not doing this to prove to anyone. You're not doing this to prove this to your parents, your relatives, or your teachers, or your friends. You're doing this to prove this to yourself. So do this a favor. Do this as a favor to yourself. Every day, make it a habit of writing these answers. I've seen many talented students, right, who have covered the subjects, the syllabus, but they did not clear the exam eventually just because they never practiced answer writing. Or they left it till the last minute. After prelims, they thought they'll pick up answer writing. But trust me, it'll never happen. Answer writing is something you have to inculcate right from the beginning. Maybe not in the first 2 months, but from the third, fourth month, make it a regular habit. And this is a golden period, right? From August to December is a golden period where you're covering your GS optional and current affairs, building the foundation. Parallelly, you will develop the writing skills as well. So please do this regularly. So by September, you have to ensure you finish your big 4 subjects with 4 relevant smaller GS subjects. Like history, you can club it with society just to make it a little more dynamic and interesting. Economy, you can club it with governance and maybe social justice, right? Or just stick to governance and economy, which should be more than enough, and pay attention to your optional and current affairs and answer writing. So this is something which is practically possible on a month-to-month basis. I'm not overloading you, right? At the same time, we are not falling short as well. It's just the right amount, the appropriate amount of study which is needed on a month-to-month basis. Then you have to pay some attention before your prelims itself for ethics paper as well. Now, this is something I always tell my students. In GS 1, 2, and 3, most students who are serious, they will end up scoring the average marks or slightly above average. Everybody will fall in the same range, the same bracket, right? Everybody would score maybe 110, 115, or around 105 to 120 in that range in each GS paper, 1, 2, 3. So they will just score on an average or just slightly above average. So the score in GS 1, 2, 3 will not make a big difference, right? It's much more difficult to score higher, to score, let's say 140, 150. In these papers, it's slightly more difficult. But in your essay paper, in your ethics, which is your GS4 and your optional, this is where you can take a big jump over the others. Now you take a look at the topper scores from previous years. Most of the toppers would have made a difference over here. GS 1 to 3, their scores would be usually average or slightly above average. But where they take a big jump of 80 marks, 100 marks compared to others is by scoring slightly higher in essay, ethics, and optional. In essay, you can easily cross even 160. Many students have scored in the range of 160 to 180. It's all about your writing skills, your presentation skills. Ethics, again, you can hope to cross 150. Optional combined has to be above 310, 320 minimum. That is where you get a big jump over the others. So ensure that you pay more attention to these areas. Don't just obsess with the regular GS subjects. I know history, polity, IR, internal security, all these subjects are interesting. It is important. But don't just obsess over these subjects and neglect the other areas. In fact, many educators, many teachers might mislead you as well by just pushing you towards GS subjects, GS 1, 2, and 3. Students end up making that mistake where they don't pay much attention to ethics, essay, and optional. So I'm urging you to allot enough time. That's why look at the plan that I have made here. Initial 4 months, you're focused more on GS. June to August, you're giving more attention to the big 4 GS subjects with some attention on optional and minor GS subjects. But from October, I'm asking you to make a switch. From October to December, pay more attention to ethics and optional and give slightly less priority to GS 1 to 3. Maybe here you can cover the smaller subjects like internal security. Maybe you can try to plug in disaster management. That won't take much time. Science and technology, social justice. Try to finish up these smaller GS subjects, but give more attention to ethics and your optional between October to December. Because by then, your overall conceptual understanding would have improved. Your foundational knowledge would have built up because you have covered these four big subjects and some small GS subjects with current affairs. This is the right time to step up your game. By October, you should be in a position to step up your preparation, focusing more on ethics and optional and some focus on the smaller GS subjects, along with regular current affairs and answer writing. So this is something which will continue. Maybe by December, you'll be done with most of your GS. Whatever is left, maybe some pending areas in polity, some pending areas in history, some pending areas in IR. That is something you can try to finish in December with main focus being optional and answer writing. These 6 months, they are absolutely crucial. Now, if you can do this, you're all set to ace the exam next year. Now, what comes next is just revision, practice. Because there will be nothing new to left, which is nothing new to study. Nothing new would be left to study after that. Once your basics are done, almost 80% of your syllabus is covered. It's just about adding the finer touches. It's just about completing the task and revising it, practicing it, which becomes much more easier. So in the second stage, you can shift towards prelims focus. When I say prelims focus, majority of your time, majority of the time that you're allocating should be focused and oriented towards prelims exam. Let's say 80% of your time from Jan to March 2026. 80% of your time should be prelims focused. Remaining 15-20%, you can try to focus on mains as well during this period. If you have followed stage 1, covered 80% of your syllabus across subjects, then you can do this. 80% focus on prelims. Right now, you'll shift into a prelims mode, and maybe 15-20% still you can try to focus on your mains exam. So maybe in the month of Jan, let's say some optional is still left, or some part of your mains GS subjects are still left. You can try to include them while parallelly focusing on your second stage of revision. See, once you enter the second round of revision, it will not take much time. That's the advantage of covering the syllabus in the first round. Once almost 80% is done, initially you might have taken 1 month to read polity. You might have taken 20 days to cover IR. You might have taken 1 month for economy. But trust me, when you go for second revision, you can do it in a much, much shorter time. Multiple revisions are the key to revise and recollect and remember. So focus on your second revision during these 3 months. Revise all the core GS subjects for your prelims. Start with polity, history, geography, economy, again the big four, and focus on other subjects as well like IR, environment ecology, science and tech. These are your priority subjects from Jan to March. Go for second revisions, try to quickly cover up these subjects again and ensure 100% of the syllabus is covered this time. Nothing should be left. Even if small parts of each subject was left behind by December, this is when you try to cover them completely and ensure you pay attention to these 7 subjects. This is where 90% of your questions will come from. If you're able to revise polity, modern history in particular, geography, environment ecology, economy, IR and science and tech, if you can revise this quickly in 3 months, right, you're all sorted for clearing the prelims exam. So there should be parallel focus on test series. This is where you shift your focus towards practice. Take up these modular tests, subject-based tests. Then take up full-length question papers, right? Enroll for any test series program, or a lot of practice tests are available freely as well, right? Take up the PYQs, the entire question papers of previous years. Attempt the full-length paper, and you have to simulate the exam condition. Sit properly for 2 hours, just like the prelims exam. Try to attempt these papers on a regular basis. Maybe you don't have to do it daily. Every week, you can start out with 1 full-length paper per week, or maybe 2 subject-based modular papers, modular tests per week. So this is something you have to inculcate in the plan. So on one side, you will do a full second revision for GS for prelims, only for prelims. Here, you don't have to read internal security. You don't have to read ethics. You don't have to read disaster management or even governance, social issues, social justice. These are all mains oriented. Stop your mains oriented subjects. Shift only to prelims focus. Cover these 7 subjects that I've mentioned with current affairs. Current affairs will keep on going. It'll keep continuing with with the practice tests for your prelims, with the test series. This is much, much easier. This is a point where you should not be reading anything new, right? You should just be revising whatever you have read again and focus on multiple revisions. And then you enter the last lap, the final lap. Guys, please remember this exam is like a marathon, right? Initially, you pace yourself, you start out slowly, but build the momentum. Then you slightly pick up the pace. And finally, you enter the last lap where you sprint towards the finish line. So that has to be your strategy and approach. This should reflect in your timetable as well. So what you can do in the last 2 months, you have to go for another round of revision, a third or maybe, if possible, a fourth round of revision. The students who have easily aced prelims, this is what they've done. You might have seen some toppers who were very confident of clearing prelims. How do you think they built that confidence? That's because they knew they had covered all the basics many months before. They knew they had revised enough number of times, at least 3 to 4 revisions. They knew that they had practiced enough by attempting enough question papers. So this is a time for you to run, to sprint, and ensure that you do at least a third revision of those 7 subjects. Again, revise polity, revise modern history, revise geography, revise economy, even IR, science and tech and environment ecology. 90 questions will be from here out of 100, along with current affairs and your PTS, which will continue. Now, you might ask, sir, what about CSAT? Until now, you didn't even mention CSAT. Now, CSAT is something you don't have to do on a daily basis. That's why I have not explicitly included that in the year-long or monthly plan. I will include this in the day-to-day plan breakup, which I'm going to give you. You don't have to do CSAT every day. Even if you're weak, even if you're, let's say, from humanities, arts background, if you're not from engineering or science background, even then, daily CSAT preparation is not needed. I know students panic about CSAT. They over exaggerate the challenge. I understand CSAT paper sometimes can be difficult, but trust me, it is not something which can be conquered. With the right focus and right strategy, you can conquer CSAT. It's all about getting those 67 marks, right? So aim for 90 to 100. Don't think 67 has to be your goal. Never set the bar low. Keep the bar higher at 90 to 100. You will end up getting maybe 75, 80 so that you're in the safe zone. If you have to get 90 to 100, what should you do? Every week, make it a weekly habit. Try to assign 2 hours in your timetable. 2 hours every week for CSAT. Look at previous question papers. Try and practice comprehension, right? And especially when you read editorials and columns, your comprehension improves when you're reading newspapers. Try to improve your quant and numerical skills, your reasoning, logical reasoning skills. 2 hours per week is enough. If you do it from now, from June 2025 itself till May 2026, roughly for the next 11 and a half months, every week give 2 hours for CSAT. This is more than enough. You don't have to obsess with CSAT, but don't be complacent. Don't be overconfident. That's a recipe for disaster. As I've told you, many talented students have scored very well in prelims, way above the cutoff, but they have not been able to clear CSAT. It's either because they didn't prepare enough, they didn't practice, or they were overconfident. So please don't fall into these categories. Ensure you pay sufficient attention. 2 hours per week as of now is more than enough. Maybe in the last stage, when you come to April, May, you can increase the allocation, try to push it to maybe 4 to 5 hours, or maybe even 6 hours per week in April to May is more than sufficient with enough practice tests for CSAT. Ensure you have attempted all the PYQs, starting maybe from 2011 itself. That's when the new prelims format was introduced. All the way from 2011, ensure you attempt all the papers, right? And take up more practice tests as well along with that. and try to ensure you give maybe 5 to 6 hours per week when you come to April and May of 2026. So this is something you can include in your monthly day-to-day plan, which you're going to make. That's why I've not explicitly mentioned it here. You don't have to do it every day. It's not needed. Don't waste your time, your energy, your effort. See, there's something called ROI, return on investment. Whatever time and effort you're investing, even money, right? You're spending a lot of money, time, and effort in preparing for each subject. Ensure that the return on investment is present. Invest your time more on subjects like polity, economy, history, ethics, even subjects like IR, environment, science, and tech. CSAT deserves your focus and attention. You can't be complacent, but doesn't mean you obsess with CSAT, right? Students, out of panic, out of fear, what they do, they try to do CSAT every day, which is a waste of your time. Don't do it. 2 hours per week right now is enough. Later on, as you come closer to the exam, April, May, maybe you can jump or push this to maybe 5 to 6 hours per week with enough practice tests. Then you are coming to the last stage. As I told you, your goal should be to walk out of the exam hall next time in 2026, knowing that you're going to clear the exam. Confidence should be so high after you attempt the prelims paper that you should know that your roll number will be there in the list. You should not even come back and check answer keys or check your name or your number on the list. You should know that in your heart that I'm going to make it this time. Because when you have that confidence, you will not waste your time. You'll not wait for results. You'll not waste those precious 2 weeks. You will get started on your mains preparation. Please manifest this from now. This has to be your goal. If you manifest this, you will be driven and you will follow the first 3 stages properly. You will be more serious and committed for the first 3 stages of the plan. Then comes the last stage, exclusive mains preparation, where you go for more focus on your optional, complete GS revision with answer writing and current affairs. The priority should be in this order, in the same order. In the month of June, give larger focus on optional because it would have been at least 5 months since you touched your optional, right? You might have forgotten few things. You may have to revise a lot again. So start out with optional, give more priority for it in June, and try to revise all the basics in GS. So here in history, for example, you can focus on other aspects of history, world history, post-independence history, some attention to ancient medieval art and culture as well. And of course, answer writing is something you'll start picking up again on a regular basis. Now it's not enough to write only 2 answers, maybe increase this. Try attempting modular question papers for each subject, full length question papers, PYQs. So try to allot more time for answer writing and regular allocation for current affairs. July, what you can do, try to bring in the other high yielding papers like ethics and essay. You can even afford to keep GS aside slightly, GS 1 to 3 for some time, because you would have already done one revision. You would have just studied everything for prelims, right? And you've done a second revision again after your prelims. So keep focus on your optional. That focus should never be lifted. And try to introduce ethics and essay again in the month of July, which is the right time to step up your ethics and essay preparation. Here you can cover small subjects of GS, maybe like disaster management, maybe social issues, governance, if something is left behind, with main focus being on ethics and essay, along with answer writing and current affairs. Then the last month, August, again, you will go back to the basics, optional, complete GS revision, whatever is left in any subject. Just allot the time for that and enough answer writing practice right before the exam. So this is the basic formula that you can follow, a year-long plan with a month-to-month breakup. Now, I know this is not enough for many of you. You want a day-to-day breakup. That, sir, what should I do today, tomorrow, each day in June, each day in July? What should be my plan? Now, see, I can't give you a one-size-fits-all approach, right? As you can see in the image, for each of you, the requirements will be different. The challenges will be different. So you have to customize this. You have to adopt the plan that I've discussed to suit your circumstances, to suit your context. But here also I can help you. I can give you some advice at the last section of today's discussion. And after this, I'll take your doubts and questions as well. Now, to design a day-to-day plan, right, we have to first understand the mindset of an aspirant and the time which is available with an aspirant. According to me, there are 3 types when it comes to those who are preparing for the exam. We have full-time aspirants, who have fully dedicated themselves for the next 1.5 to 2 years to prepare for this exam and clear the exam. So they have all the time at hand. They can even push themselves and try to invest 8, 10, or even up to 12 hours per day, right? So they have a greater luxury of time available with them. But there are others who have a time crunch, working professionals who are working for 9 hours, 8 hours in a day, traveling as well from office to home. So they are left with very little time. So is it impossible for working professionals to study? The answer is no. A lot of working professionals have cleared the exam even while doing their job. Maybe they take some sabbatical right before the exam, before prelims and mains, but throughout the year they would be working and studying. Of course, it will take more commitment, more sacrifice. But if you're able to push yourself, try to pull in 5, 6 hours consistently. For working professionals as well, it is possible to abide by this plan. And those who are still in college, final semester, final year, you still have your exams, your college classes as well. So you have to balance that with your UPSC studies. How do you do that? Because you, again, those in college may not have full time for to prepare for the exam. They have to strike a balance between both. So what I will do is I will give you a rough day-to-day plan, how many hours you should assign for different areas. Accordingly, make a plan based on that. So let me start with full-time aspirants. As I told you, full-time aspirants have the luxury of time. Anywhere between 8 to 12 hours regularly is possible for them. But I know 10 to 12 hours regularly is not possible. You may not be consistent. Today, you may study 12, even 14 hours for some days. Later, you will completely stop reading because you got bored or you got distracted. So that is never useful. Even if you study 6 hours every day, 7 hours every day, and if it is consistent throughout for next 350 days, that is any day much more efficient. So consistency is what matters. It's not the number of hours you study, right? You study 8 hours or 12 hours or 6 hours. If you are studying effectively, sticking to the plan, covering the syllabus, practicing enough and revising enough, you are still in a good position. So don't obsess with the number of hours. Honestly, that doesn't matter eventually. What matters is consistency. Let's say you are studying 7 hours. Ensure you do that regularly over a period of time. Closer to the exam, you can bump that to maybe 9 or 10 hours. Yeah. Now, a full time aspirant who has all the time at hand, ideally, you should allot 3 hours for GS per day. Because I know some of you would be attending classes, right? 3 hours will go for GS, 1 to 1.5 hours for current affairs, newspaper reading, some online research as well, making some current affairs notes so you can revise, and maybe 2 to 3 hours for optional to begin with initially. Later, when you come to October, November, December of this year, you can try to increase this up to 4 hours for optional. So this is what you have to do on a daily basis. So roughly, you have to invest, let's say, 8 to 9 hours consistently. 3 hours for GS, 1.5 hours for current affairs. Start with 2 to 3 hours for optional and then bump this to 4 hours per day for optional. So this has to be your daily time allocation. Coming to CSAT, I already told you 2 hours per week is enough for now. And in the last stage, when you're closer to the exam, maybe you can bump this to 6 hours per week in April, May, which is more than sufficient. Clear? Answer writing. First 2 months, don't worry about answer writing. Focus on covering the syllabus. And maybe third month onwards, try and allocate 15 minutes per day. Try to practice 2 answers per day. Of course, as you shift to prelims focus from Jan onwards, you will stop answer writing. Focus just on prelims exam, which means you are going to give time for mocks for your prelims test series. So make it a weekly habit. Every Sunday, take a mock test starting from Jan onwards, right? Try to attempt the PYQs, the previous question papers, full length question papers. So do this regularly for prelims on a weekly basis, or maybe 2 papers per week as you get closer to the exam. So this is something you have to determine depending on uh, how confident you are. Try to attempt, I would say, at least 10 to 15 full length question papers before the prelims exam. So keep some time for that. Then revision. Revision is something you have to inculcate. Maybe plan a weekly, monthly revision. Fit this into your schedule itself, into your timetable. Every week, I'm sure you can assign 2 hours to revise what you studied last week from Monday to Saturday. Every Sunday, sit for 2 hours, quickly revise the notes and PPTs and uh, all the books that you have referred. You just scan through everything so that you can quickly refresh your memory. Every month, maybe try to give 6 hours one day. Maybe sit on the first of every month, 1st June, 1st July, 1st August. Sit for 6 hours just to revise quickly in 6 hours, whatever you did last month. A quick revision, assign half a day for it, 6 hours entirely, just to flip through the pages, flip through your notes so you can try to remember and recollect. So, this is something you have to inculcate in your plan. And this is absolutely possible for a full time aspirant. On an average, you'll be studying 8 hours, 9 hours per day, and you can maintain this consistency. It will not tire you out, it's not overwhelming as well. Now, what about working professionals? Working professionals have a bigger challenge. Even students who are still in college, they have a bigger challenge. At the maximum, I know you can pull out maybe 5 to 6 hours, not more than that. Correct? Especially if you have a proper 9 to 5 job, and if you are expected to go to office, if you don't have work from home option, right? Your time becomes very, very limited. And again, depends on your commute time. If you're traveling for 2, 3 hours in a day, that again puts a strain on the time availability. So what you can do, you can try to pull out 5 to 6 hours, maybe 3 hours in the morning, try to get up a little early, and 3 hours in the night after you come back from work before you go to bed. So this is a time which is feasible for working professionals and college students as well. Maybe 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., right? Which means you have to put in that extra effort to get up early, make it a habit, make it a routine, and come back, refresh yourself, take some rest. Maybe you can sit again from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., or let's say 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. So you will have to compromise on your sleep, on your personal time, but that's the only way in which you can hope to cover the syllabus. So what working professionals can do, try to assign maybe 3 hours for GS initially, right? Initially, later you can try to reduce it to 2 hours. Optional, maybe you can keep 2 hours consistently, around 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes for current affairs, right? So something like this has to be worked out on a day-to-day basis. What will I do in the morning 3 hours? Maybe morning 3 hours, focus on your GS, right? And during your commute, let's say you're going by public transport, by bus or cab or metro, uh, use the video analysis which is available, right? Or online resources that are available, put in your earphones. Try to finish current affairs while you're commuting, while you're traveling, or even at work. It's not that you'll be working 9 hours constantly, right? There will be some breaks, some lunch breaks, tea breaks. Use that time efficiently, finish off current affairs in your office or during commute. So maybe 45 minutes, you're done with the current affairs preparation for that day. Around 2 to 3 hours for GS, couple of hours for optional, and this is more than enough for now. Slowly, you can see how it works out. You can try to plug in some additional areas, right? Maybe every week, assign 2 hours for CSAT, reduce some time for GS and give some time for CSAT, 2 hours per week. And the rest is the same. Whatever we discussed for full-time aspirants, the same applies for answer writing, revision, and mocks, right? It all depends on what stage, what month are we in. So now I think you can make a plan based on this, 5 to 6 hours consistently, ensuring that you will hit these targets. So make a chart, create a proper timetable, put it on your wall so that you're accountable, right? Ask your parents to monitor you, or you yourself can do that. Keep checking where you stand every month. Make a day-to-day plan, right? And if you're hitting the target, put a tick mark or put a cross mark. Be honest with yourself. At the end of the month, you'll know where you stand. So the same logic applies for those who are in college. Even college going students, maximum they might get 6 to 7 hours, not more than that. If working professionals get 5 to 6 hours, those in college might be able to pull 6 to 7 hours consistently. So give 3 hours for GS, 1 hour for current affairs. Again, when you're traveling to college or when you're in college, I'm sure many of you would be bunking classes as well in college. So use that time to finish current affairs in college or when you're traveling. 2 to 3 hours for optional. So I think this is something which is practically possible. And 2 hours for CSAT every week, right? And the rest remains the same. 15 minutes for answer writing, mocks when the exam is getting closer on a weekly basis, and regular revision, weekly, monthly revision plan. So if you guys can do this, inculcate this as a habit, right? Turn this into a lifestyle. That is when you're going to clear this exam. So implement the 2190 rule. It is said, a lot of studies also back this argument, that it takes 21 days to form a habit. You should not break it even a single day. Do it religiously. If you're making a 8-hour plan, 9-hour plan, 6-hour plan, whatever it is, right? Eventually hours don't matter. Once you make the timetable, stick to it for 21 days so it becomes a habit. Then follow it for 3 months total, 90 days in total. It becomes a lifestyle. You can't break out of it. You will love doing this, right? You will feel out of place if you don't follow this routine. So create the routine. It's all about forming a routine. So tell yourself today that I'll be disciplined for the next 350 to 500 days, 12 to 15 months. That's all it'll take, right? Of course, then comes your interview preparation, but that is something which you can focus upon later. But now, dedicate these next 400, 500 days, build a proper routine, a disciplined routine. Trust me, there's no force on earth which can stop you from clearing this exam. So I hope you guys take the right inputs from this session, right? I've discussed this for almost 1 hour right now, giving you an idea, a strategy that you can follow, how you can make a year-long plan, a monthly breakup, and a day-to-day timetable. I really hope you guys implement this and let me know what you think about the session. Now I can be there for another 10, 15 minutes answering your doubts and questions. So please bring it up, whatever queries you have, whatever questions you have, I'll try to answer a few questions. So can we look at the chat box? Any particular questions related to what we have discussed? Narayan is asking, please help me choose the best website for mock test preparation. See, mock tests given by any institution should be good enough. So you can rely on them, and PYQs are available on the UPSC website. Birudu Sanjana is asking, is law optional scoring? See, law in general has not performed very well. It is a niche subject. You need proper guidance, proper material as well. That might be a big challenge. If you're really confident, right, if you have a background in law, then go for it, or else consider other optionals as well. How to start mains preparation? That's what we were discussing, right? Don't divide your preparation into prelims and mains right now. Focus on both. Focus on a holistic preparation right now. Then you can try to divide it according to the examination calendar. So when you get closer to prelims, you will shift focus more towards prelims. After prelims, you will again focus entirely on mains. But now for the next 6 months, make it a holistic preparation. Ripandeep Kaur says, "Sir, right now I'm following Ignite batch timetable and optional with daily current affairs. Is it fine?" Yes, absolutely. If you're regularly attending GS classes, right, in the Ignite batch, which is currently going on, with daily current affairs and optional, that is part of your plan. So just make a timetable as we discussed. Next, Zen Master is asking, I'm quite slow at writing. The only way you can improve your writing speed is by practicing again. The more you write, the better your speed will become. And also ensure your handwriting is legible. It need not be beautiful, but at least it should be legible. See, that's what Rahul is asking. My handwriting is not that good. Your handwriting need not be extremely beautiful. UPSC is not looking for that. But it has to be clear, legible, so the evaluator can understand what you're writing. Some students were asking about the platinum batch. See, platinum is our one of our core products, one of our dream projects as part of Unacademy IAS English, where we are trying to transform the online classes. Generally, online classes become very monotonous. It's a one-way learning, right? Where the teacher is just delivering the lecture and students are just listening. We don't know what the students are doing. And to ensure that there is two-way communication, we can see the students and ensure we can hold the students accountable. We have launched the Platinum product, the Platinum program, right? So in Platinum, right, what the big advantage is that the teacher can look at you. Your cameras will be on, and if you're not paying attention, you're getting distracted, the teacher can hold you accountable just like in offline class. That is the big advantage. Plus, the teacher would be your mentor as well, guiding you, mentoring you, giving you the inputs and strategy, along with all the other resources, the study material, notes, answer evaluation, etc. So if you're interested, you can check it out in the Unacademy app. Narayan is asking, can I use ChatGPT for answer writing? Will you have ChatGPT for writing answers in the mains exam? Obviously, no, right? So that won't help you. Don't rely on ChatGPT for answer writing. You can use ChatGPT for other useful purpose, maybe to summarize the current affairs of the day, maybe to give you practice questions. ChatGPT can be helpful in that regard, but not to write your answers on your behalf. Akshita Yadav is asking, is sociology optional scoring? Yes, sociology has usually performed very well. But of course, whether it's scoring or not will depend whether you're prepared appropriately. So with right preparation, sociology can be a good scoring optional. Okay, so that is it. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about the session. And if the session has helped you even a bit, press the like button and share your comments. And any doubts, any further questions, let me know in the comments. I'll try to look at them. I'll try to reply back as well. That is it. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.